Space is cool. Ever since the dawn of humanity, we humans have dreamed about exploring the stars, and one day even living among them.
Indeed, humans have dreamt of exploring space, and until the last few decades, space travel was left only to the imagination. Old science fiction stories like The Brick Moon and A Martian Odyssey stirred the imagination and brought the idea of living in space to the public eye. Science fiction and space travel have become quite popular in today's media. Films like Avatar have brought millions of people into theaters and make record-breaking sales.
That's him. Get after him!
This might not be the most accurate representation of space travel, but it is most definitely entertaining. A more realistic view in the modern media would be from a movie like The Martian, which really considers the possibilities of living on Mars. However, the base featured in The Martian is smaller and more suited to short-term research, whereas living on Mars long-term would require a bit larger of a structure that would be able to remain indefinitely. Though Mars is not the only planet in our galaxy that can harbor life, we have to settle for it, since the closest solar system is about 4 light-years away from our Sun.
So what's the importance of structures in space?
Well, a shelter in space is incredibly important to protect its inhabitants from the harsh environments. It sustains life by providing oxygen and a pressurized environment, and it protects from radiation and severe temperatures, whether that be 200 degrees too hot or 200 degrees too cold. It's essential for life.
An example of a structure like this would be the Biodome 2, which is meant to simulate conditions on Earth, and even has a fully functioning model. The biodome is filled with a wide variety of plants, and is able to control pressure, temperature, as well as the composition of the air inside. Surviving on Mars requires protection from the sun's harsh radiation, the uninhabitable atmosphere, as well as the fierce storms. The biodome does all of this and more. Domes are also the ideal shape for a habitat on Mars, because domes provide the maximum space and environment for the minimum amount of structure and mass, while also being very strong.
Earth is just one in an infinite amount of planets within our ever-expanding universe. There's already a great deal of resources that lie within our own solar system. And you know what they say, don't put all your eggs in one basket, because it's one hit and sunk.
Just one of the many benefits of having separate colonies on other planets is being a safety measure against any sort of calamity that might befall our planet. Though, of course, there are many other less pessimistic benefits as well that can help us Earthlings. Mining asteroids can be an incredibly profitable business if done successfully, given that even the smallest asteroids can contain billions of dollars worth of ores and minerals. The biggest trouble being the large amount of resources required to actually get the ore back to Earth, not to mention the radiation and treacherous conditions. So actually, the resources gotten from asteroids could be better off going to Mars rather than our own planet, since it's closer, has less of a gravitational pull, and little atmosphere compared to what we have at home, making the landing much easier.
Oh, hey there. I'm just enjoying a nice glass of rocket fuel. Oh, that's not rocket fuel, you moron, you might say. Well, technically you're right, because it's water. But what is water? It's made out of H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. What is rocket fuel? Liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. So technically, water is rocket fuel. It's very important for long-distance space travel. It's also important for your body, so stay hydrated.
That's right, stay hydrated, kids. Mars is unique for a number of reasons. One of those being that it has ice caps, which contain water. This is a boon to the people living on Mars, since they will most likely need all that rocket fuel.
So while I have free thought, NASA has actually confirmed that there is intelligent life on Mars. So life on Mars is completely impossible. There's no way. With the intense radiation and the lack of atmosphere, there's no possible way Mars could sustain life on its own.
Being in such close proximity to Mars would help researchers learn more about the red planet and potentially see if there is or was any life on Mars. But so far it seems that there's an imbalance of benefits and challenges. So let's fix that, shall we? Though there are many benefits to living in space, such as the cool view, and unique environment, and, living in space, but living in space is also incredibly dangerous, and requires a great amount of resources to survive.
Earth is the perfect temperature to sustain life.
People on Earth really take for granted the amount of physical freedom that our planet gives us, especially since everywhere else in the universe is human-proof. Even the most basic of activities are a challenge in space, such as exercise and going to the bathroom.
Man, going to the bathroom on Earth is really easy. Without gravity, going to the bathroom in space would really suck.
Living on Mars would be easier than living in space because it actually has gravity, albeit a good bit lighter than gravity on Earth, which makes things like growing plants and other activities possible. Another issue that must be dealt with is the factor of isolation in cramped spaces, since these colonists must be able to deal with the challenge of being alone in small quarters on a planet millions of miles away from us. All these challenges, and we haven't even begun to consider how much it would cost to man a mission to Mars, the mission to Mars itself costing around $30 billion. However, new ways to save money and commercialize the space industry are being developed, and we may be closer than ever to realizing the dream of living on other planets. SpaceX is a company which has been quite ambitious as of late. It has worked to develop a rocket that lands on re-entry from the atmosphere and can be reused to cut the cost to launch rockets significantly. SpaceX also plans to launch a manned mission beyond the moon in 2018. And although long-term space travel might not look like this, it certainly has come a long way, and technology will only get better from here. Space travel is incredibly difficult and costly, with many different dangers to account for. But the payoff is high, from mining asteroids to ensuring our survival in case of disaster.
Every day, we get closer to making long-term space colonization a reality. Now remember, kids, if you're anti-science, you're pro-stupid. We thought. NASA has actually confirmed that there is intelligent life on Mars.